The course title is Marketing Playbook for Practices That Will Thrive in 2020. And you are in for a huge treat getting to see Dr. Una speak today. Once this hour is through, you're going to see just exactly why she just surpassed the milestone of her EntreMD podcast reaching over 20,000 downloads. If you feel about this session like I do about the podcast, you're going to want to keep your notes handy because you are just going to learn for the next 60 minutes. So Dr. Una, please feel free to take it away.
Well, hello. Thank you, Jan. That was such a beautiful introduction.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm going to record it and I'm going to put it to play every morning before I start my day, get myself pumped up.
Well deserved.
Okay, so I am going to go ahead and start. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite things, which is marketing, and how to create a marketing playbook for practices that will thrive in 2020. I want to stop real quick and give a big shout out to PCC. I started using PCC in 2014. It's been a huge game changer in my practice and in my life as a physician and an entrepreneur. So super grateful and happy to be on here. And this is going to be a very valuable 45 minutes or so. My name is Dr. Nneka Unachukwu. People call me Dr. Una for obvious reasons. And my practice is Ivy League Pediatrics. It's in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And I'm also the founder of EntreMD. So this is me and a little bit of a background. I started my practice 10 years ago. And when I started my practice, I was terrified of being an entrepreneur. I was terrified of putting the word out there. I was like, I'm just going to be a good doctor and people are going to come. I'm going to hang that shingle and people will come. And I hung the shingle and people didn't come. So I had to figure out marketing. I had to figure out how to do that in a classy way, in a professional way. I needed to embrace all those skills of an entrepreneur. Just realize being a doctor is not enough if you're going to own a practice. You do have to have that business piece as well. So I embraced it, jumped in both feet. And after I did, I kind of realized these are learnable skills. We can learn this. We are one business away. We are one skill away from the practices that we imagine, the practices that we would love. And so then I founded EntreMD and started teaching doctors and showing them like, this is what you can do. And, so you can build a practice, you can have the volume that you want, you can have the brand positioning that you want. And it's been great. So that's enough about me, but that's who I am. I want to, before we go into the nitty gritty, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's a pediatrician on here and, who works in a pediatric practice. I want to say thank you because the COVID-19 hit and we're not one of those specialties that could literally just shut down, right? Kids still need to get vaccines. Kids are still being born. So in the middle of COVID, we had to figure out COVID and we had to figure out how to still serve our clients and deal with the financial impact and all of that. And, you deserve the props. Like, thank you for what you do. And in the middle of that, you still had to fight to make sure your kids are still being taken care of so we don't end up with a COVID-19 plus a measles outbreak or, a Hib meningitis outbreak or whatever. So, thank you for what you do. I appreciate what you do. I'm in the trenches with you. So I really, really appreciate what you do. And I hope that this talk is going to help you to even get better at what you do and, is going to make it all worth it. But thank you. Okay. Now, the thing about a pandemic or a crisis is that it exposes weaknesses. Okay. So there's so many things we changed about our practices. Some of us, we got rid of our waiting rooms, and some of us, we built new systems. We became more efficient and all of that kind of stuff. So, we'll go with what Winston Churchill says, which is never waste a crisis, never waste a good crisis. So if we had a choice, we would not want to have anything to do with COVID-19, but we don't have a choice. We're here, it happened. So let's not waste it, right? Let's get something out of it. Let's end up saying at the end of this pandemic, like, as long as I live, I never, ever, ever want to see another, pandemic. But, COVID kind of worked for us at the end of the day, right? That would be great for us to be able to say that. So we're not going to waste this crisis. And one of the weaknesses showed up in this way. A lot of doctors reached out to me and they're like, it's slow. The phones aren't ringing anymore. People aren't calling to make appointments anymore and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's interesting, because there's nowhere that is written that if you open a practice, your phone should be ringing, right? So the bottom line is that people should be on the phone making appointments, whether they called you or you called them. So one of the big weaknesses that COVID exposed is we don't have marketing systems. We don't have a system to control how many patients we see. We are reactive. Like, if they call, we'll schedule them and we'll see them. If they don't call, then that means we don't have people to see. But I need you to imagine if you flipped it, where you had a system in place to determine how many patients you would see, to determine that you're going to have summers and they're not going to be slow. It's going to be different kinds of patient visits, but it's not going to be slow. If you had control, if you became proactive instead of reactive. So it would be really lovely for it to be that out of this pandemic, what you got was a marketing system. Okay, so that's why we're going to look at the playbook. Now, you might go like, I don't know why we have to do this. I mean, like, it's about to get busy. It's going to be back to school physicals, and everybody's going to come out of the woodworks now that the pandemic is slowing down. Okay, but hear me out. What if your patient population has had their habits change so significantly that they're not as quick to come for appointments, right? Johnny had the fever and we kind of managed it, and where I would usually run to the office, I figured it out and we're fine. So next time Johnny has a fever, my reflex is not to run. Those are appointments lost. A mom who was always like clockwork doing her, getting her kids their physicals, and she has all these kids that are 6 months behind, and she's like, nothing bad happened. So what if that becomes her new habits, where she's no longer quick to call? You're going to have to reach her and find her and market to her. Like, what if that happened, right? And what's going to happen in the fall? Do we really know? I mean, like COVID, what are the symptoms? Fever, cough, shortness of breath. What are the symptoms of the flu? Fever, cough, like who knows which is which? Are people going to retreat? Is there going to be an uptick? We don't know. So the bottom line is we need to be prepared, and we need to use this summer as time to bring as many people as our practices can accommodate back in, right? So I really want you to look at it this way, okay? So we spend a lot of time, with the PPP and all of that stuff, getting the money, making sure we're spending it properly so we can get all the forgiveness. And we spend a lot of time doing that, right? What if this summer, before the fall hits, and we don't know what's going to happen with that, but people are also a little more confident, so they're coming out for appointments now. What if we created a practice protection program, right? And what that means is, now that we can get people in, we maximize the opportunity, maximize the revenue. So even if it becomes a little slower, right? Even if it becomes a little slower in the winter, you can go like, yeah, but we did a lot of visits. We got a lot of people saved. We put away some cash. We can absorb this, right? What if this summer was just that opportunity to give your practice the revenue flush that it needed to stay, thriving in what might be a slower fall? So I'm not saying it's going to be slower, but what if? We don't know, right? Nobody started off this year thinking there'll be a pandemic. So I want to invite you to create a practice protection program. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on, this whole concept. We're going to be working on, how do we control? How do we make this summer busy? How do we do that? How do we control our practice volumes regardless? Okay, all right. So if it's lunchtime for you and you're not eating, I apologize, but I really needed this picture to explain. So your marketing playbook is like a marketing stew, okay? So if you look at that stew, there's so many components in it. All if you like this kind of stew, you go like, ugh, this is delicious. You can't say exactly what was from the green peppers and what's from the tomatoes and the seasonings and all that stuff. It's the combination of it that makes it good. So there are a combination of things that you can do in your practice that would help your volumes, that will help you control how many patients you see. It's not one thing, it's a combination of things, okay? And I have a number of those things, and I'm gonna share 5 of the best ones I have, 5 of the juiciest ones, okay? So just think in terms of a stew. Don't feel like, oh, I'm gonna pick one thing, oh, I don't like that. No, right? What if they made this and they said, I'm not gonna put the tomatoes or the fish, right? We need it all to give us the result that we want. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 of my best things, 5. So the first thing, now, the things I'm going to talk to you about, they're going to be so simple that you're going to be like, really, Dr. Una? But if you do them, they will give you drastic results, okay, if you do them. All right, so the first thing is in-house marketing, okay? In-house marketing really refers to you taking a look at the people who come into your office every day. I want you to imagine, a pediatric practice. There are 3 pediatricians working there. They see 25 patients a day on average. That is 75 patients. And guess what those 75 patients all need? They all need future appointments, right? So that means every day, regardless of your recaller, regardless of people calling in, you can be scheduling 75 appointments a day. And if you do that, the truth of the matter is it snowballs. Now you might go like, we do that in my practice all the time. So I remember, one of the things I love about PCC is you can pull up all kinds of reports, you can pull up all kinds of data. So we looked at the gross collection ratio. I had heard about it, and they're like, that's how much people, and I was like, my practice, I was like, nobody goes past the door if they haven't paid their copay or their deductible or whatever. And I was feeling so cool with myself. And then I ran the report. It was like 72%. It was like 72%. So I don't want you to blow this off and go like, oh, we do that. You don't know. In PCC, you can tell, right? You can see how many appointments were scheduled on that day and stuff like that and all. So you want to take a critical look at this and make sure you can set a benchmark. You can say 90% is acceptable or 95% is acceptable, whatever you want. But the bottom line is if you do this, it snowballs, okay? Now, maybe I haven't convinced you yet, and you're like, okay, fine, whatever. But let me show you this, okay? I want you to think, if you have, from the practice example that I gave, if you have 3 pediatricians working every day, right? And there are just 5 appointments missed. So they see 25 patients a day, 20 got appointment schedules, only like 5, right? So which is like 80%. That's not too bad, right? Like 80% had their appointment scheduled. But if you have 5 appointments that are missed every day, 5 per pediatrician that were missed every day, right? And on average, it's about $130 a visit. And it happened for a year. This happened for a year. Nothing else changed. This is the only thing that changed. This is the amount of money left on the table. $468,000, $500,000. So my question to you is, hey, what would it feel like if you brought an extra $500,000 into your practice? Nothing has changed. Is the same number of employees, is the same number of pediatricians, is the same light bill, same mortgage, same everything, but you get an extra $500,000. That is the impact of in-house marketing, right? So the first thing that I want you to take and add that should be happening every day, the first thing I want you to add to your marketing playbook is people don't leave without appointments, okay? And we live in different times. You might say, well, people don't want to schedule. Of course not, but we need to think of ourselves almost like a sales team. And if I said sales and you're like, ugh, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear about it, I want to invite you to go subscribe to the EntreMD podcast and you need to listen to it, okay? Because this is the way we need to look at it. So if mom says, oh, I don't have time, right? Oh yeah, I will get this for you quick, and I'll give you I'll post a reminder in the portal for you so you can see it. Does June the 17th work? Right? If a mom says, oh, I don't know my schedule, I was like, how about this? Why don't we schedule this? And you're going to get a reminder a month out. And if at that time it's not convenient, just call us. We can move it by a day or two. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to teach your staff to overcome those objections. Why? Because that's an extra $500,000 in your practice, and it's worth it. Okay. So think about that. That's your practice protection program. All right. So that's the first thing, is the in-house marketing. And I want you to start thinking about that. I want you to hold your staff accountable. I want you to measure it. You cannot leave this to chance. You cannot say, oh yeah, we do it. You don't know that you do it. So you go inspect and make sure that it's being done. Okay. All right. So that is the first thing in the playbook. The second thing is the recaller. To which you're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Una, that is not rocket science. I know, but if you're not doing it systematically, then it is costing you money, and it's costing you appointments, and it's costing you being full, and it's costing you thriving in the midst of a pandemic. So the recaller, and if you use PCC, you should know what this means, because Chip and everybody else talks about it all the time. And that's just really, pulling a list of people who are overdue or about to become overdue for appointments and scheduling them. Okay. And PCC has, a lot of tools, and now, with the broadcast feature, you can do this, automatically, not automatically, but it can pull it up and send it out for you without needing to use the third-party service. So with the recaller, I want to challenge you to look at it two ways. You may have been doing it the automated version, right? Where you either you do it through Notify, or you do it through the broadcast system. And you should be doing that. And it should be on a schedule. It shouldn't be a knee jerk. It shouldn't be like, oh, our schedule is not full, hit the recaller. No, it should be something that just happens. Okay. For my practice, what we did, and this will vary, how you do it will vary, but it needs to be done. For my practice, what we did is we split them by age groups, and every week we have one batch that goes out, so that we can manage the volume. We don't want to send it to everybody, and phones are going off the hook, and we can't accommodate them soon, right? Because we don't want to call someone and say you're overdue, and they call back and we're like, we can get you in 2 weeks. We want to be able to get them in a few days. So we split the whole database into 4 really, and then we hit it once a week. So that's what we've done, except, schedule is crazy full, and, we accommodate for that, which is a different talk. But so you have the automated version, which you should be doing. Now, with the pandemic, what we discovered is that we had to do a live version. So since the pandemic hit, I have had the automated version go out. And I've also had one staff member that I repurposed. So we're like, we don't need this many people managing the front desk and all that stuff. And I didn't lay off any of my staff. So I was like, okay, so I don't need you to do that role, but you could be my sales team. And then, so what she does is she gets on the phone, she's calling people all day. So she would make 90 to 100 calls a day, end up with between 20 and 32 appointments a day. Okay. That's just what she's been doing since March. And with that, the reason why you want to have the automated and the live is now we have so many more objections to coming into the office. So there are people who will get the automated version and go like, do these people not know there's a pandemic? I'm not coming, right? But the person who's calling live can say, hey, this is what we're doing. We've eliminated the waiting room. You're literally going to be in the car, and then we'll get you in and we'll get you seen. Our goal is to get in and out of the office in under an hour. And, all the staff are wearing masks, and, we're using so much Lysol that the staff are joking that if COVID doesn't kill us, Lysol will kill us. You need somebody to overcome the objections, which the automated system can't do. So with your recaller, you want to have automated, you want to have live. And so I'll give you a pro tip here. There was a day, my scheduler, this person I was telling you about, worked for half a day. Okay. So I think the internet went down or something like that. So she was the one troubleshooting. And when everything was done, she worked from 2 to 5. Now, doing calls from 2 to 5, she made 32 appointments. I was like, come have a seat. You need to explain, because either and she didn't make it up, because you can pull a report. I'm like, wait a minute, how did you do this? So she giggles. So she pulls up a list of families with multiples, and she only calls them, right? So she gets one person on the phone and it's 4 appointments, one person on the phone and it's 5 appointments. So that's how she did that, right? So you might be going like, I don't have a staff person that I can put on the phone all day, right? Maybe put them half a day, make them do multiple. So it's a higher yield, but you have to have somebody on live. For most people you do, so that way they can overcome the objections. Okay. I've had people say, oh, we're busy. I don't have one staff member to just man the phones. I'm like, okay, great. So each of your providers are seeing about 25 patients a day. Oh, we're nowhere near capacity. I'm like, okay, as long as you're nowhere near capacity, your primary objective is to get people through the door. So find somebody and put them on the phone. Hire somebody. It's an employer's market, right? But if your schedule is not full, your job is to get your schedule full. Okay. Now let me make a solemn declaration. I am a pediatrician. I love kids. I love my families. So when I say this, please don't think I'm saying this at the expense of patient care at all. But this conversation is for the business owner side of you. Okay. If your schedule is not full, your primary assignment is to fill your schedule. So if you feel like I don't have somebody to put on the phone to just man the phones, you need to find somebody to man the phones. Okay. You need to hire somebody to man the phones. You need to repurpose someone to man the phones, but you need your appointments filled. Okay. But definitely use the automated is such low hanging fruit. I mean, you're clicking. Okay. And many people have done this. They've clicked and the phones have rang. So click away. Okay. All right. So consider doing both. So that's number 2 in our marketing playbook, in our marketing stew. Number 3 is email marketing. Okay. So this was one of the things that kept us afloat, in March and in April and in May. Okay. Email is so huge. Now, if you think about Old Navy or Gucci, or if you've ever subscribed to anything, you know that throughout the pandemic, they were sending you tons of emails. But guess who wasn't sending emails? Doctors. Of course, not you, right? You're great. You do this, right? It's the other doctors. But for some reason, we gather all these emails. We don't plug it into an email system. We don't do anything with it. We just gather them, right? But your email list is gold. So when the pandemic first hit, what I was doing was this. They would say there's a stay-at-home order. I would do a video. I'd say, this is a stay-at-home order, and this is what it means for your kids, and put it out there. Usually your email open rates, we're talking 18 to really good, like 30%. I'm having 50%. And every time I would send an email, the phones would ring. It was the most amazing thing. They're like, thank you for keeping us updated, and when I started doing telemedicine, I found out people were using expired medication rather than coming into the office. So I would send an email. The subject line is, oh my gosh, it was expired medication. And everybody's opening it. And I'm like, come on, if you need stuff, there's telemedicine, there's this, we're here for you. Don't hurt Dr. Una. And then the phones would ring. It's like the most beautiful thing. Now, I don't want you to think about it just reactive. I want you to imagine where you're doing an email every week, and not some old, boring, really scripted kind of email. I mean, you talk to your patients, just talk to them through email, right? So email marketing, that is something that you want to do. And don't get so bent out of shape like, oh, but we send it, but only 18% open it. The big companies you look at, only 18% open it too. And that's enough. That's enough. The idea is to do it consistently. So look at our marketing stew, right? We're doing the in-house marketing daily, the recaller weekly, the email at least weekly. Okay. So let's look at some statistics for email. Okay. This should knock your socks off. Okay. In every age group, so 15 to 24, 25 to 44, 45 to 64, 65 plus, they're all about 90%. They're all using email. But, Instagram has a different demographic, and Facebook has a different demographic, and all this stuff. But the email usage is about the same. It's about the same. This is hashtag you should be using email. Okay. It should be part of your stew. All right. And if you compare it to social media, look at the engagement. So when you post on social media, let's say Facebook, the last time I checked the statistics, it's like 6 to 12% of people that see what your stuff, 6 to 12%. Okay. So compare that to an open rate of 22.8%. There's no comparison. So this is something that big businesses use. This is something that we as business owners should be using. It's such low hanging fruit with a huge return on investment. So you want to hug, embrace email, decide email is my thing, but you want something that goes out every week. And, this could be, simple like, if you have the pollen count goes up, you're like, hey, it's time to do this and this, and get your allergy checkups done and all that stuff. Another one could be pollen count goes up. You tell them, look, we need to get your asthma stuff going on. Flu shot comes in. Hey guys, come get your flu shot. It's somebody's birthday. And trust me, the open rates for the birthdays will blow all the other stuff out of the park. Is Dr. Whoever's birthday, put a picture and say, hey, tell them happy birthday on Facebook or whatever you have to say. But the point is, you want to use email. It's such low hanging fruit. It'll make such a difference. Go for it. Okay. So that's email for you. So our playbook is taking shape. So we have our in-house marketing, our recaller, our email marketing. You can see that there's nothing really hard there, right? And then I'm going to talk about speaking, to which you're like, Dr. Una, we're pediatricians. We don't have time to do all of that. We're not really into speaking. And I will tell you that speaking is one of the things that changed my business the most. Okay. It changed my business the most. Now you might be like, what do you mean? Like I should go do speaking gigs? Let's start from here. Let's start from you speaking online, right? So speaking could be offline where you're on a stage. It could be online where you're doing videos. So let's just say you're doing videos, okay? Let's say you're doing videos. And I want to show you how much the market wants to see these videos, okay? And you might go like, wait, videos on what? Oh, okay. Look at this. Every time you walk into a patient's room for a sick visit, guess what they come to you with? Problems. Do videos on the answer to those problems, right? How many times should my newborn poop? That is a video. What can I do at home with my kid who is spitting up? That is a video, right? How much screen time is too much screen time? How do I get my teenager off their technology? How do I manage my kids' temper tantrums? What do I do with my kids' bow legs? I mean, like, they are giving you topics for your videos every single day. Every day. Okay. So your practice is a business. And if your practice does not have the patient panel you want, doesn't have the visit volume you want, I need you to hear this because it is such low hanging fruit. Okay. So let's look at some numbers. Okay. We're scientists. We can't argue with numbers. Video as a lead generation channel. Okay. Video marketers get 66% more qualified leads a year. 66%, okay? Which just means that number should just tell you, oh, I should do more video, okay? 8 out of 10 people have purchased a piece of software or app after watching a brand's video. 80%, 80%. So there's no way for you to look at that and say, oh, I'm not gonna do that. It's not necessary, because it is. It's 8 out of 10. I mean, think about it. If you went to 2 websites, so not you, of course, you're an adult, right? You move to a new city, you're trying to find a family doctor. And there are 2 websites, and these are the guys that have the pretty website with the polished pictures and all that stuff. And you have this other one that has a simple landing page with a video. And it's like, hi, my name is Dr. Smith. I'm super happy you're checking out our channel. I started this practice 2 years ago because I wanted to provide people with an environment where they get expert medical care, but they also get great customer service. They don't feel like a number. They have somebody who looks after them. We have extended hours. You'll see the same physician every time. We have great customer service. We have over 300 5-star reviews on Facebook, on YouTube, not YouTube, on Google, and they go on and on and on. My question to you is, what practice do you pick? The other practice could be better, but they don't stand a chance. They just don't. Why? Because you've experienced that person, right? So you might be going like, I cannot do video. Okay. So I am going to tell you my video story. Okay. Now, 2 years before I started doing video, I knew I was supposed to do video. I was fully aware. I knew, I was like, you know, it's great to do. It would have a huge return on investment. Nobody around me is doing it. So position me differently and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I'm not doing it. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like my face on the World Wide Web doing video? Like I'm not doing that. Like, it's just not going to happen. And, you know, I saw somebody who was doing a video. So this is some person on Instagram, random. I didn't know her at the time. We're friends now, but I didn't know her at the time. And she has like 60,000 followers on Instagram. Okay. And she was doing a live video. So I click on it and I see that she has 300 people live. And it's an awful video. I mean, like the light is bad. There's background noise. Her son walks by behind the camera. She starts talking to her son. I was like, this is an awful video. This is awful. And I just had to check. It's awful, but she has 300 people live and is growing her business. But you, with your perfect video that you've never made, you're not making any impact in your video. It's not on your business. So I call my daughter, who's 8 or 9 years at the time. I'm like, okay. I pull out a chair. I give her a camera. I'm like, hit record. I do my spiel. I think I talk about screen time or something. I upload it to Facebook, the World Wide Web. And I'm like, okay, my worst video is done now. Let's just make it better. Okay. So if you are someone who's listened to me at all, you know that I always talk about progress over perfection. So progress over perfection. Okay. Now I went on to do a show on Facebook called the Legacy Parent Show. And I did it, you know, every Thursday at my lunchtime. I would go on, I talk about, you know, screen time or exercise or, you know, using sunscreen or, you know, big general topics. I wasn't doing any medical advice. And the parents would watch it. Their kids will watch it. I got the nickname like Legacy Mom. It was called the Legacy Parent Show. And I had so many patients. So I have new patients come in. How did you hear about us? Oh, I saw your video. It was an obvious choice. How did you hear about us? I saw your video. It's an obvious choice. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it can make a huge impact. In fact, I stopped doing it because I had reduced my hours, but everybody was like, oh, I only want to see Dr. Una, you know, the one I saw in the video. I was like, oh my gosh, like, right? So it's such low-hanging fruit, okay? And if you think about this and you're like, this makes me so nervous, again, I want you to go to the Untitled podcast. I do a lot of stuff on video and speaking and content production and all of that stuff because we as doctors as a whole are not doing this. So this sets you apart automatically. Okay. So video, speaking online. Okay. Offline, we can leave that alone for now, but at least online. And guess what your parents have a lot of now? Lots of questions. Just go online and answer them. Record a video and answer them. Okay. All right. So you have these 4, and the final one is social media. Now, I'm going to say this. Social media should be your marketing stew, but it's number 5 for a reason. Okay. It is number 5 because that is the order of priority. You don't do social media and leave out in-house marketing because the ROI on in-house marketing is higher than the ROI on social media. Okay, so you should do social media because that's where your parents are. Like, right? Sometimes you can't get them off of Facebook, so you can talk to them. Sometimes you can't get the kids off of Facebook, so you can talk to them. So you should be doing it, but not at the expense of anything else. Okay. So remember our stew that we looked at in the beginning and it looks so delicious and all of that stuff. You want to have all these components in there. Okay. So let's look at some stats on social media. 54% of social browsers use social media to research products. And these social browsers are the moms and dads that make decisions as to which pediatrician they're going to go to. So which means even when somebody says, oh, you should check my pediatrician out, guess what they do? They go to social media, right? So imagine them going to social media and they see that you have a page, you have content on there, they see some videos, they're able to click and experience you it's so much harder to say no to you and say yes to somebody else who doesn't have a presence. Okay. So it's something you have to use. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to binge on it. It doesn't mean you have to let social media destroy your life, but you want to have a presence. Okay. And 71% of consumers who have had a positive experience with the brand on social media are likely to recommend the brand to their friends and family. 71%. Okay, so it's low hanging fruit. You should be doing it. You might go like, so which platform should I use? It depends. If you're just starting out, then one platform is great. Don't try to do 17 at the same time, right? So start with one, build that, get familiar with it, and then keep it moving. If you have someone who's social media savvy in your office, you can let them do that, and you just stay in charge of content production, meaning that you make the videos that they can put on there and stuff like that. But you want to be doing some social media. Now, I'm going to throw out something here, though. Like, you may have times where you're like, I don't know if this social media thing is working. I've posted a lot of stuff. People are not commenting. Yeah, it's great to work on your engagement, but just remember, a lot of people see your stuff and they won't like it, they won't share it, they won't put a comment. It doesn't mean they're not seeing it. We live in an attention economy, so you want to make sure you're getting their attention, and one of the ways to do that is social media, right? And you never know who's taking your stuff, is showing their friend, like, that's the doctor I was talking about. You can check. You don't know. I had a friend who said, you're the reason why I started a practice. I'm like, what do you mean by that? She's like, all the things you posted about, how to start a practice, how to market a practice, how to do video, your inspirational stuff. I followed you for years and I started a practice. And when she said that, I was like, that is so interesting. She has never clicked like on anything I have done. She's never commented on anything I've ever done, ever. But it was so impactful that she started a practice. So there are people who will come to your practice. There are people who recommend your practice based on something they saw, and they may not respond to it. So don't quit because people are not responding. You just do it because that's what you do. Okay. So of course there are better ways and better ways to do it, but don't be discouraged because your videos are not going viral. And really, something that goes viral without a strategy sometimes is just useless, right? So you had 10,000 views, and what about it? Your video didn't have a call to action. You didn't tell them to check you out. It's not linked to anything. So you got 10,000 views, but so what, right? But what if your video gets 200 views and gets you 2 new patients, right? So it's not about that. This is not a popularity contest. We're trying to grow a business here, okay? All right, so now what? What do we do now that we have that? So it's time to build your own stew. I am so sorry if I'm making you hungry. I'm making my own self hungry, but it's time to build your own, right? You have the components, you have the 5 things that you're going to use to create your own stew, your own playbook, okay? And I want you to look at this, okay? So look at you building, you have your in-house marketing that you're following every day with the data, not your assumptions, with the data. And like all these appointments are being made. The recaller is going out every week. We have emails going every week. We're producing videos maybe every week, but I'll give you twice a month for now, but every week, really, every week. And some of those can go on social media. They can go in the emails. They can go wherever. And then you have social media posts that are going out. If you put all these things together, is synergistic, right? So one can give you one kind of result, but put all together, it puts it where you have this constant influx of people coming in. And if you do this consistently over time, like for months and for months, it snowballs like crazy, okay? So I want you to do your own stew. Okay, do your own stew. So what if you did that and you got to a point where 90% of the time people leave with appointments, right? So you have tons of appointments being made every day. You have your recaller going out, appointments coming because of that, appointments coming because of your email, appointments coming because of your videos, appointments coming because of your social media. Every doctor's panel is full of patients. Imagine that your summers, you have control. So it's never like summers are slower. It's more like summers are different, which means instead of a ton of sick, we have a ton of well. That's all, because you know how to use this, how you can amplify it, right? So just imagine that. Imagine that even in the midst of a pandemic, now that we have a little bit of a lull, you're back up to capacity so you can bring people in, get that cash flush that you need. So even if the winners are a little slower, you're not bothered because you built your practice protection plan, right? So imagine that. And that's what can happen if you use this too. If you look at it, there's nothing that I've mentioned that is complicated. There's nothing I've mentioned that you cannot start doing today. Not one single thing. And, it's not about, oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I know that. Oh, she didn't tell me anything new. It's more so, am I doing it, right? Action is where the rubber meets the road. Am I doing it? So if you're not doing it, this is the time to do it. This is the time to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it as a synergistic effort to make my panel full, to make my schedule full, to make my practice cash flow the way that it should. Okay, that's what can happen. All right, so that's it. So let's connect. That's the link to the podcast, but really you can look for EntreMD anywhere on it, wherever you look at podcasts. We don't talk about anything clinical. It's all about the business side of medicine. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them today. And, in the future, that's my email. And my social media is at Dr. Unachukwu is my full name. So you might want to take a picture of that because it's a lot of consonants. And that's it.
Well done, you. Thank you so much. My goodness. That was a fast 45 minutes. Did I say it would be? My goodness. And you made me so hungry.
I'm sorry.
No, you've got my appetite up for a good lunch. I better find something good. Between the mushrooms and the gravy, my gosh. We don't have anybody. Well, now of course we have one message that came through, but we don't have any questions that came through the hour. So I feel compelled to just continue telling you how much I love you. The ideas that you shared, I know, I'm like borderline creepy now, but your ideas are really the thing that I'm really excited about. There's not anybody who can't relate to video fails right now. My favorite point of the whole 45 minutes is you impressing upon people that they don't have to get it perfect the first time out, that getting a video out is the point, and then
exactly
making it better later. The perfect being the enemy of beginning is a whole thing. And
usually what I tell the people I work with is, I love the iPhone, and imagine if they waited till iPhone 11 to give us the first iPhone.
You're
right?
speaking our language.
That's the
now.
problem with waiting on perfection. We would have missed out on 13 years of a great iPhone. So the idea is do iPhone 1, make it excellent. Excellence means doing the best with what you have. It doesn't mean perfect. It means doing the best. So you take your iPhone 1, you put it out. The marketplace will give you feedback. Change this, change that, change that. You take it back. You make iPhone 2. They give you more feedback. You take it back. So that means you can be producing and improving on the job, right? Yeah. If you wait for perfection, you'll never do anything. And iPhone, great. Apple is such a great company. And if you're a droid, I'm sorry, but they're such a great company, sleek design, all that stuff. But their goal has never been to make a perfect iPhone. Their goal has always been to make a better iPhone. And that's the mentality we have to have.
That's exactly the concept that we work with. If you watch Paula Vandevender's session on the roadmap and what's to come, she does a great description of the concept of MVP, minimum viable product. So we get it out there so that you have the tool. We share the information, share the software, and let you tell us how to make it better. So I love that parallel in our two worlds here. One of the things that I really love about listening to you talk is how genuinely delighted you are by the success of the ideas that you implement. The letting things succeed tends to be something I find in human nature. People are so averse to new ideas and so averse to change that they don't allow themselves to revel in the success of the changes. And I think you're an awesome role model for just delighting in the improvements and the changes that come about from your effort.
I love it. I think, I feel like we have so much potential, and to just watch yourself create things and change things and be in control, right? Like I've had slow summers where it was so slow because nobody wanted to come in and all that. And the first year I had a great summer was after PCC, and I found the recaller. I was like, wait a minute, right? I was like, wait, we can control this. And then
Game
we
changer.
slammed that recaller and it was busy. And I was like, wait a minute, I can have busy stuff. This is in my control.
Isn't
You
that
know,
something?
so the more of those things that happen, the more excited I am to see it. And not just for me, but, you know, for other doctors, because I mean, it's amazing. And even in the midst of a pandemic, to go like, okay, I have no control over the pandemic, but I do have some control over some things. So why don't I do what I can do? And let's see how this plays out.
Exactly. What have you got to lose, right?
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, there is one. In the last few seconds, a great testimonials come in. Someone commented, great information. 3 of the doctors in my practice have done Facebook Live videos since mid-March. They do tours of the office. They show the use of the PPE.
Yeah.
They thank patients for trusting us with their care. They answer questions. There are 3 other doctors in that same practice who are shy, and it sounds like haven't yet done that then. But you were the inspiration for this practice manager.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To do this.
Well, that's awesome. I'm like, yay to videos. I love it. Doctors, we should be out there talking a lot.
Indeed. I love the way that you equate it to answering questions in the exam room. You know, you're either looking at a patient or you're looking at your camera.
Yep.
That equation makes it so much more approachable.
Yeah. And the pro tip is this. I do this more for EntreMD than I do it for my practice because I spend more time there. But I have a running tab on my phone, and it's like podcast ideas. That's what I call it, right? And if someone asks me a question and I answer it, I mean, don't waste the answer. Like 500 other people or 2,000 other people have the same question. So I put it on there and I convert it to a topic, and I do a podcast episode or a video on it. And that's the same thing we can do as pediatricians. Like when a mom asks you a question, she represents other moms. And you just come out of your room and you document it real quick. So you never go like, what should I do today? You have the list to pull from, and then you just pull from it and do your thing.
Yeah. And in that case, you're sitting with it when you're most inspired. And those are the best quality videos.
Yep.
That you feel most passionately about. Well, I can't thank you enough for this. I am really, really grateful to you for being with us today and for sharing all this wisdom with us. So folks, take note of this contact information, because you know you're going to want it when anybody is ready to take a step in this direction. Dr. Una is the place to go.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super honored. You know, I'm a big PCC fangirl. I talk about PCC all the time. It's a game changer for me. So I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time.